Academy of Scholars. Welcome to another episode of Scholarly Speaking Live with Dr. Stacy Lambert-Johnson, the Director of Student Success at the Academy of Scholars. I am Benny Crane Jr., the Assistant Director of Student Success. Today's topic will discuss how to teach your child to advocate for themselves.
Thank you for joining us for today's live session. No matter where you're joining us from, whether you're at work or at home, we pray that you're having a great AOS day and hope that you can visit us here on campus someday soon. So last week we talked about what parents should do when their children fail. This week we're exploring teaching your child to advocate for themselves. But before we get started, Benny, where can our viewers watch today's live session once it's over?
Everything from this show ends up on our website, academyofscholars.com, including both the audio and video versions. Now, if you prefer watching us each week, you can find the video version on our Facebook page, YouTube channel, LinkedIn, and Instagram. If you're looking for something entertaining to listen to on your drive to work, you can download the audio version anywhere you download your favorite podcast. Shout out to all the people who are joining us live today. And to those of you who follow us on our social media platforms, we appreciate you joining us. Now do us a favor, tell your friends we're on. All you have to do is hit that share button right there. Comment and tell us about your child's self-advocacy skills. Do they speak up and advocate for themselves, or do they rely on you to advocate for them? Tell us, we want to know.
In Scholarly Speaking 41, we shared information on how to help your child resolve conflict. That was a good one.
It was a great one.
We mentioned teaching your child conflict resolution skills along with problem-solving skills. It was discussed that teaching your children problem-solving and conflict resolution skills will assist them in navigating in a world where conflict and struggle are inevitable.
Yes.
But how do you teach your children skills to advocate for themselves? Self-advocacy is the act of representing yourself or your own views or interests. Being a self-advocate means that you can stand up and speak up for yourself without the assistance of others. You know, Benny, I grew up in a time when children were told to be seen and not heard.
Yeah.
I wouldn't dare talk back to an adult because that was considered rude and disrespectful. Mm-hmm. And talking back included asking questions.
Stacy, in some cases, we couldn't even be in the same room with adults while they were talking, not alone ask them questions. And when you were brave enough to ask why, the answer was usually, because I said so. Now, I remember a frequent answer that I got from my dad when I asked where we were going was, we're going to see a man about a dog. And not one time did we ever go see a man and talk to him about a dog. I mean, we just couldn't ask parents questions. Our parents were huge on respect, and showing respect to adults and asking questions of adults was not seen as respectful. So in many ways, we were encouraged not to ask them,
right,
which resulted in many of us growing up not knowing how to advocate for ourselves.
That's true. Now, when I had my own children, it was a little different, or I was a little different.
Okay.
I encouraged my children to respectfully ask questions if they didn't agree with something.
Okay.
And not just with me, but with anyone. Sometimes that didn't go over too well because, especially with older folks, whose expectation was that children didn't question adults. Yeah. It was especially an issue for my son's teachers because he was full of questions. I didn't specifically teach him to be a self-advocate. It was just a part of his personality and who he was, always interested in what was fair and right as it related to his classmates and teachers. Once, when his entire class was given a punishment and had to write an essay for homework, his essay was about why it was unfair for the teacher to punish the whole class for the behaviors of a few. It's no wonder he became an attorney.
Wow, that's funny. Now, though my wife and I are invested in learning about what research says about child rearing, it's just not in our natures to shut down questions when our children ask. Right. We just aren't the because I said so type. And at the same time, our children aren't the why type either. So self-advocacy isn't necessarily natural to them, as in the case with many children. In fact, I would say that our children, like many other children, are so respectful that they may inherently see that what we know as self-advocacy is really being disrespectful. So we have to say to them, tomorrow, ask your teacher, and they aren't happy when we say that to them.
Wow, now my grandson is a why kid. You know, and I think He's like his dad, so he may grow up to be an attorney as well. Parents, the good news is that your child doesn't have to be a future attorney in order for them to be a self-advocate. Here are some best parenting practices that can empower your children to advocate for themselves. First, parents, as we mentioned in Scholarly Speaking Live 41, resist the urge to solve your children's problems for them. Instead, listen and allow them to take ownership of the problem. You wanted to make the honor roll, but you received a C in math, and you're disappointed.
Yes, as parents, we are so conditioned to rescue our kids that there are times we respond to their problems by giving them solutions rather than asking them questions like, what do you think you can do differently next time? Giving your child an opportunity to own and process what they're experiencing is very important.
It is. Now, second, allow your child to take ownership of their feelings. In order for them to advocate for themselves, children need to be able to recognize and understand their emotions, using strategies to express those emotions in a constructive and appropriate way. Avoid telling your child how you think they feel or should feel. For example, saying, "That's nothing to cry about, it wasn't that big of a deal," is defining and expressing how you think they should feel.
Yes.
Instead, allow your child to define and express their feelings and let them know that you hear them. You can say, "It appears that this situation really hurt your feelings and you're sad."
That is excellent advice, Stacy. And I pray dads out there listening to it in particular. Expressing emotion through crying, for example, is not a sign of weakness, nor is it an affirmation of masculinity. Now, I've never subscribed to "my son can't cry because he's a man," but I have tried to define what kinds of things are worth crying over for my kids. Like crying over physical pain, that's okay. But crying because your feelings are hurt, don't do that.
Yeah, my parents did that to me because I was a crybaby, and they were always like, "I'll give you something to cry
Oh,
for.
that
What
was
are
a
you crying
famous
about?"
line. That was a famous line.
So don't do that, parents.
Don't do it.
Third, parents, nurture your child's independence. Create opportunities for your child to be independent and advocate for themselves. Start small, like allowing them to order for themselves in a restaurant, or asking a store clerk for help, or talking to their teacher about a concern.
Everything gets better with practice, and these early opportunities for practice usually happen in front of you when you have an opportunity to role model it for them. Before they tell the server what they want to order, you've had an opportunity to talk to them about it. Now, before you need assistance from a store clerk, you're able to say, "I think we're going to need some assistance. Can you say, 'Excuse me, can you help us,' to the lady over there?" And start early with this with your children because they're usually more fearless when they're younger. So what will appear so cute to others when they ask for help when they're 3, 4, and 5 years old will actually be building towards their confidence and self-advocacy skills for when they're older.
That's right. Now, fourth, have your child's back and make sure they know that you do.
Yes.
Sit back in the passenger seat and be their cheerleader and support as they navigate and advocate for themselves. But if your child needs you, let them know that they can lean on you if they need to, and provide them the backup that they need.
Navigate and advocate for themselves.
That's right. Navigate and advocate.
And rapping too. Now that goes right along with your last suggestion. We aren't suggesting you send your young child to the front of the store on their own to ask the clerk for help.
Right.
You're going to be right there with them when they do. And give them a high five after they ask. In the same way, let them know, "Hey, when you talk to your coach, if you would like for me to be there, then I'll do that."
That's right. Now, fifth, teach your child that the squeaky wheel gets the oil.
Yes.
That it's okay to speak up, even if it's the uncomfortable or unpopular thing to do. Sometimes we can get cold feet speaking up for ourselves, especially if we think it's going to be a bother, or we're concerned about how others may react, or if we're going to be viewed as a troublemaker. Tell your child about a time that you got into good trouble when you advocated for yourself and how it turned out.
This is where you being a role model comes into play. How you say something makes a difference. Sometimes it's not asking a question that's seen as disrespectful, it's how the question was asked that is seen as disrespectful. Your tone, word choice, and even the time when you ask a question matters. These are the kinds of things our children should see and practice from us and rehearse with them before they ask a question. It's kind of like knocking on a door before entering. Saying, "Excuse me," or "If you don't mind my asking," could make all the difference in how a question is received.
That's great advice, Benny. Finally, parents, introduce your children to young role models in books, characters who advocate for themselves. This is a common theme in a lot of children's books. Use family time to point out children on TV shows who stick up for themselves. Use this time to have what if conversations, asking, what if that happened to you? What would you have done? Having these conversations and role playing possible real world scenarios will equip your child with the tools and confidence needed to find their voice out in public.
That sounds good.
Now, what do you think? How do you help your child advocate for themselves? Do you model self-advocacy for your child? Did you learn something new from today's episode? Comment and let us know your thoughts on today's topic.
Now, if you're looking for more information to help you teach your children to advocate for themselves, go to our website at academyofscholars.com/scholarly speaking resources. In the meantime, we suggest you check out the children's book, Speak Up, Molly Lou Lemon by Patty Lovell. This could be a great book to read to your young children at bedtime. Molly Lou Lemon is a larger-than-life character who will be a great role model for your kids when it comes to things like standing up for a friend, to admitting when you've made a mistake. In this fun book, Molly Lou shows how speaking up is always the right choice. And remember, no matter where you live in the world, you can give your child access to an exceptional Christian affordable education with the Academy of Scholars Premier Online Learning. Not only does the Academy of Scholars give your child an opportunity to engage in school at their own pace, but we also provide a comprehensive curriculum with classes like coding and computer science that will have your child excited about school each day. The Academy of Scholars Premier Online Learning is the online school you've been looking for.
Well, I hope you enjoyed today's live session. To learn more about our amazing school, the Academy of Scholars, please go to our website at academyofscholars.com. Join us next week as we continue our live discussions. Next week, we'll be talking about how to talk to your child about the news.
Oh, that'll be appropriate.
Until next time, I am Dr. Stacy Lambert-Johnson.
And I'm Benny Crane Jr.
Saying goodbye and be blessed.
The Academy of Scholars. Exceptional, Christian, affordable.